tātou. Me mihi kia tātou katoa kua hui mai nei I tēnei ata I te whakanui tēnei kaupapa. Malole soifua mō mai o mā. Warm Pacific greetings. It's a pleasure to be here and share a little bit about my story, about myself. I just talk about myself really when I get up to these things. That's all I know. And I know I feel like if I talk about something that I'm passionate about, which is myself and my family, then I feel like I'm being authentic and being real in terms of sharing what's happened in my life. So, my name is Faʻalogo Ionatana Falefasa Umaga. My villages are Moana of my father and Samoan and Awhenga of my mother. And everything I do is for my parents, especially my mum. I'll speak about my dad, and I'm very proud, passionate Samoan, proudly born in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and through marriage and my children, I whakapapa to Ngāti Porou, East Coast. So I'm very passionate about this land as well. So I think, obviously start with my mum. She's my hero. She was everything to me. Doctor talked about the father being the disciplinarian, but it was my mother. I think she beat love into me, but you know, the way she worked, and when I searched in terms of her story, her beginnings, and what she sacrificed to be here, it really resonated with me around why I have to do what I do. And it took me a while to get there. I'm one of five, I'm the youngest of five, by a long way. Some people would say I was a mistake, but obviously, you know, I was the best mistake that ever happened. And I think that's kind of something, you know, my father, as you know, this is what we're talking about, being men, having a father figure, whether he was there or not. My father and I didn't have a good relationship. I had an older brother. My older brother, Michael Manga, he played for Wellington. He was the rugby player coming out. My father thought he was going to be the one, but obviously he was wrong. But everything was garnered around my brother. You know, my father didn't really watch me play rugby, and I felt my life, all I had to do was, all I was there for was to make cups of tea, you know, do fouls, go to church, go to Sunday school, which I didn't like. I went to a school that only had 2 Samoans, and one of them was one of my cousins. So I came home from school asking, why do I have to speak Samoan? I don't get it, everyone speaks English at school. And also, that just kind of helped that my parents, especially my mum, needed to learn English for her job as a nurse. So, you know, like I started to rebel early as a young child. I didn't have a good experience with my culture, because everything in my experience that happened in culture, and my culture was bad. Went to Sunday school. My father was one of our teachers, and all the kids loved him. All the kids loved him. You know, he was funny, he played with them, and I didn't have that experience with my dad at home. Don't know why. And then, you know, White Sunday practice, you know, when you talk about things that trigger, White Sunday triggers me. I'm sure I'm not the only child. Because I remember getting hidings from people I didn't even know, not even my parents. I couldn't get it. How's this part of the culture? You know? How does God love me if this guy I don't even know gives me a hiding? And I didn't even do anything. So I remember that stuff. And that's why, again, and then don't get me started on whānau lovers. I didn't understand that. But also, my father was the youngest of 13. And as the youngest sibling, he had his brother that lived close by. And their children didn't go, they didn't go without. But that was because my father had to keep giving my uncle money. And so my siblings missed out. I didn't miss out, I'm the youngest. I got everything I wanted, really, But I couldn't understand that either. And so culture was tough for me. And then when my father passed away, he wanted a big wha Samoa, and I'd been an All Black at this stage. And so I told our friends, don't worry about it, I've got this. We're going to give our dad the send-off that he wants. And again, I didn't see the best of our culture. I saw family turn up that I'd never seen before, sit with my mum, and when it came time after we'd buried and they did the cities at the end, that's when my father's family jumped in, and then they all ended up with a lot of stuff that kind of came from a lot of our friends and our family. And that was the time that I said, man, this is not for me, man. This culture's not for me. My cousin talked to me about it. She sat with me and said, our culture's beautiful. But sometimes it's people. It's not the culture. It's the people that perpetrate our culture that don't do it for the right reasons. So I'd moved out of home by then, obviously. I was an All Black and I had my own place, and I didn't really come back and talk to my dad much. Obviously, when my mum wanted anything, she got it. But with my dad, I kind of just turned myself away from his family. And then, probably after my father passed away, and then my mother passed away, a couple of things happened in my life. I lost a job. And I got a job with Māori All Blacks. And my wife's Māori, my children, I've got 4 children, but they're Māori as well. And being someone from New Zealand, Aotearoa, I love the Māori culture. And I was very proud to be from here. So I really got into learning that culture. And there was a kaumātua named Luke Crawford. He passed away recently. And he was teaching me my mihi, where I'm from, my awa, my mountain, my river, all those things. And I was going deep into it, and I used to come home, my wife was really happy because I was studying, I wanted to make my mihi bigger and bigger. And then I realised, after 2 years with the Māori, I says, I'm not even Māori. I'm not even Māori. And my sisters were going to me, why are you learning, why are you so good at not leading into our culture? And the next time I went back to the Māoris, Luke said to me, this could be a chance for you to learn about your culture. And it was. That was the kind of catalyst for me to change. And, obviously I'd had something happen in my life where I had a bit of disappointment, struggled a little bit to find a purpose and find a pathway to where I wanted to get to. I was just cruising along. But then that gave me a purpose. I wanted to figure out and find out why, what our culture was about, where my parents were from. And I did that. And I found out that our culture, the Samoan culture and our Pacific culture is beautiful. We heard about the beautiful proverbs about service. But the thing for me, in terms of that proverb, and when you talk about service, you don't talk about service or give service expecting something in return. It's not transactional in our culture. We do it for alofa, for ofa, for aroha. I do it for the love of it. I don't expect anything. But also the other side of that culture is when someone does something for you, do something for them. Pass it forward. So that was the biggest thing I got. In terms of our culture, if you take it back amongst the years, and when we didn't have money and we didn't have power, it was looking after each other. I'll serve you as my neighbour because I know when I need help, you'll help me. And I think sometimes you have to go back and look at the past to see what path we need to take in the future. And all the answers are back there. All the answers are there because our people have gone through it before. Might be a different context, it might be a different situation, but the answer's still there somewhere if you look deep enough. And so, going back with that, I thought I was having a few wines with my wife one night, and then my parents, when my mother was alive, and then my uncles and aunties, they were always asking who's going to go back and get a talanoa, get a matai for our family because they're getting old, there's not many left. And we all said no. All we could see was the hassle that it would bring, whalawe. But as I said, had a few wines, talked to my wife, a few more wines, and then I rang my sister. I said, sis, I think I'm going to do it. Do what? I think I'm going to go back and get a matai and get Faʻalogo. And she goes, really? Yeah. Are you really? Yeah, no, lock it in, go. So I hung up the phone, talked to my wife, went to sleep, woke up first thing in the morning, sis, wait. Just let me think about it a bit more. Just give me while I'm sober. But it was something that I wanted to give back to my mother, because my father, and when I talk about my name, Faʻalogo Ionatana Falefasa Umaga, I represent 3 people in my family that have all passed away. My mother, Faʻalogo side. Jonathan is from my sister that named me, and she passed last year. And then obviously my dad. I'm named directly after my father. My father's name is Falefasa Umaga, and I hold his name. And there's one thing that he kept telling me, I wondered why, when I was young, always remember the name, remember my name, and make sure you do it proud. And so I got to a stage, as I said, that actually everyone knows our name. I want people to remember my mum's name now, because I want to represent my mum. And I didn't want to do it whapalangi way and go get it hyphenated, and just add a name in between Faʻalogo and ʻuːmaŋa. I wanted to do it the proper way. And that's why, I went back to Samoa. It was funny, there was only 3 of us going to get our matais when we first went over. Once we got there, and then they said, and then they heard that I was getting it, there were 17 of us. So now there's 13 Faʻalogos. After there was only going to be 1 in New Zealand, now there's about 8. So I didn't even have to go. But again, representing who we are, representing our families, our parents, that's what we're about, I believe, in terms of legacy. Because the legacy started, it's just how you continue it. That's your time. And I wanted to talk a little bit about change, because I deal with change a lot. When I went to when I was an All Black, I remember as a young one in those days, back in the day, you sit at the front, you don't turn around, you don't look at the back of the bus, you don't talk to the senior players, you just talk when you're spoken to. That was the culture. And as I stayed in the team long enough, you start moving back, further and further back towards the back of the bus. But I never wanted to get to the back. I didn't like the back, because I didn't like the way they acted. It reminded me of Sunday school with you. It's just that I knew these guys. But it was that kind of, it didn't make me feel good. It was a lot about, all this hierarchy stuff, and I think I get it from my mother. She challenged things. She made me ask the questions. She didn't just want me to just be another person, just be someone, that's just walking down the street. Be the best I can be. And so, as I got more experienced and I stayed in the team long enough, I ended up down the back. And I didn't want to be like the people that had been there before me, because I knew what it felt like when I was that new guy coming through, and I didn't like that. And I don't understand, if you were there, why would you do that? And you didn't like it, why would you do the same thing? And I think they can go across a lot of different industries and a lot of different environments. And I remember a new player coming up to me after I'd been at the back and we just finished the tour, and he came up to me and said, "Tana, thank you very much. That was the best. I'd heard about what it used to be like and what it was going to be like. That's how I thought it was. But you just made it so good for us." Because when you achieve something like becoming an All Black, and it's like, it'll be in other sports and other industries, it's already scary. You're already, nervous, anxious. So having other people add to that when you arrive, it's not going to allow them to be the best they can be. And I think that's something for us. How can we be uplifting? As Pasifika people, there's not many at the top. How can we be uplifting for the next person, people coming through? Not keeping them down there, we've got to bring more through. And across all industries now, and I see it, and obviously in the Pacific nations at the moment, you see the best of Pacific. You see our people coming out to support their people. And that's what we need. And we need more people, that look like them, that can inspire the next ones coming through. Because it's got to come up. Just like, we're people of the ocean, these waves, when one crashes, there's another one coming, always. Always got to be part of the new wave. Who is part of that new wave? If we're about to crash, what's the next wave coming through? How are we helping that through? And I take my hat off to what's happening here. That's why I'm involved with rugby. I had 3 sisters, so I had like 4 mothers, and now I have 3 daughters, now I've got 4 wives. They just keep telling me what to do. So that's why I work with rugby teams, with men who I can tell what to do. Makes me feel like a man, when someone will listen to me. But also, I do, for my well-being, I do jiu-jitsu. And we're all men, all old men, middle-aged. And we go there, we look like we're trying to do jiu-jitsu. It doesn't look flash. But, for 44 an hour, we might roll around for a little bit for half an hour, but for half an hour we just talk about kids, about life. And it's like the well-being for us, where we can all just share, and it's something that, I've made friends outside of the rugby circle, which I think was important for me. But I think what we're developing here, these things are important, where males can talk to males and be themselves, and not always feel like I have to be the provider, I have to be a disciplinarian, I have to be this, I have to be that. Because when you sit in the room with guys that are going through the same thing, it just helps ease some of the pressures that are on you. And I just tell you that from my own experiences that I'm going through at the moment. And I think, just finally, a couple of things. In my current job, this is a real purpose project for me. Uplifting Pasifika people. I tell people all the time, in my sport, in collision sport, the lifeblood of our game is brown. Because we love collisions. We love the physicality of our games. And there's an area where other people, like-minded people, where we can connect on that aspect. But also, for us at Moana, we do everything unapologetically Pacific. We're Pacific from front to back, from the board all the way down to the ground. And so We do it our way. And we're not scared of doing that. And we understand that we've disrupted. We've done better than people would think we'd do. And usually when that happens, people get threatened. And when they get threatened, they start to close in. And when they close in, they start to change rules. Things that they want to keep the status quo. But again, if we look back in the past, it's happened before. And we've just got to keep challenging. Keep trying to be the best you can be. Keep disrupting. Because if we don't, who will? If it's not me, then who? We want rough waters. Because we're master navigators. They want the calm. They want the norm. Okay? And just finally, I am getting old, sorry. This is something that my sister put on my parents' grave, and it's something that resonated with me. And it's just a Bible verse, I think it's Proverbs 31:31. And very simply, honour them for all they have done, and let their work bring them praise at the heavenly gates. And I think that's what motivates me the most. When they got there, all the hard work that my mum sacrificed, my father, I'm learning more about my father's story. This is my father's shirt. I had to bring it in, he's a big man. But understanding what he sacrificed, I didn't get a hiding from my dad. I got in trouble a lot, and he just talked to me. My siblings got beaten up a bit, apparently. He just said, you just got to learn, son. You just got to learn. I can give you a hiding, but that's not going to teach you anything. You know? And so he's probably a wise man, and I probably looked at him and thought, yeah, skinny. But really, he was wiser than I thought. And as I said, I've got a lot more respect for my dad now. Problem is, it's probably too late. I didn't get to see him when he passed away because I'd left the country. And I didn't get to say a lot to him that I probably that I needed to. And I think the one thing that I did get from my dad, or I didn't get from my dad, and I made sure I changed, he never said I love you. I don't understand that. He showed love probably in different ways. When I went to rugby league, he never came watch me. That's what I said, because he said that game's rubbish. He was a rugby man through and through. But then my sisters always used to support me, and then they said, Dad's just in the car park, he's behind the fence. I found out that he'd come watch, but he'd never come see me. But it's just those things that probably, if anything, I tell my kids that I love them every day. It's one thing that I wanted to change. So they don't never go wondering if they have my love, always, unconditionally. And sometimes I think sometimes our kids just need to hear that. Genuine. So yeah, I think that's my 15 minutes. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.